Welcome to day 5 of 100 Days of Propagation with Priscille. Today we are going to propagate this beautiful plant. However, mine is very sad. This is my Ficus Elastica. It's a Tineke. However, I had this plant on my dining table for years now. I had this plant for years. I think I got this plant back in 2019, and it was a baby at the time. However, this winter I thought maybe this plant needs more lights, so I moved it closer to my window. Now I live in Canada, and I started seeing these brown spots on the leaves, and I realized it was the giraffe, the cold giraffe, that was taking down my Ficus Elastica. And so I'm gonna propagate this little guy, and we're gonna see if we can bring it back to life. Okay, I'm gonna do this propagation in 2 steps. One, I'm going to propagate the tip, because the tip still has fairly healthy leaves. It's more of the matured leaves at the bottom that needs to be removed. So I'm going to propagate and remove quite a bit of leaves, and then I'm going to put the remaining plant in this new potting mix. I want to thank Very Plants for sending me this potting mix. I love their collection because they actually have soilless potting mix. Now there's different horticulture mediums in there with immense benefit for your plant. And so we're going to try them out today, and I'm going to show you how you can propagate, how you can grow, and you can change your potting mix into a soilless mix. Shout out to my bestie who sent me this brand new potting mat. All right, the first thing you might want to do is grab yourself a jar. I use these little jars for my propagation. Again, I have scissors. You can use cutting shears. I normally use cutting shears, but I'm going to use these scissors here, which was purchased specifically for propagation, and I use these scissors when I propagate with my children. And so if you are propagating with your child today, then good news, they can propagate too. So I'm going to bring in my plant over here. So this poor plant needs a lot of nutrient, needs a lot of love. I've double checked, it's not pest infested. This is really going through shock. And so first thing I'm going to do is propagate the tip. There we go. And I'm going to remove the bottom leaves. Could have propagated a little bit more. Now they call this plant Ficus Elastica because of the sap that comes out of this plant. You can see it. There we go. Now, if you're propagating this plant with your child, you're going to want to wear gloves. This is one of those not so safe plants to propagate with children. I mean, if young children, I should say, older children, you can definitely propagate with them just because of the sap, and you don't want it to get in contact with their hands. And so it's almost like the leaf in the plant bleeds. One thing I'm going to do is use the same planter just because this one has an integrated drainage area, like a water reservoir. So I'm going to shoot out this old potting mix, give this planter a nice wash, and I'll be right back. Okay, the planter has been washed as much as I could. Now I'm going to brush off this plant and remove all the existing soil. I'll probably wash the roots too. Now you want to make sure you get as much soil as possible off if you are changing the potting mix. You can see here, we got some nice roots. I can't wait for you to see this mix because there's cocoa chips in there, cocoa coir, orchid bark, charcoal, leca, perlites, worm casting. This, my friend, is what your plant needs. And so it has everything your plant wants. I'll show you up close. Okay. Now I've washed my Ficus Elastica. You see? I'm going to pop it in here. This is pretty good. There we are. This little guy has some fresh potting mix. Now again, when you're propagating a plant in the Ficus family, they're more on the woodsy end. And so you're going to want to let it callus before you add water to avoid any root rot, to avoid bacteria going into the womb of the plant. Also, if you take a look, this is a new baby leaf that's coming out. Now, when you're propagating, it's very important that you take a closer look at your plant. And so it's starting to bleed here. Now, the concept of nodes, you can still see here through the lines. There's one ring at the bottom, another one here, right here, another one here, another one here, here, and another one here. So when you're cutting, you want to be sure that you're cutting, I probably cut it, technically I should have cut it a little bit lower than the node, because that's where the roots are stimulated to grow. And that was day 5 of 100 days of propagation with Priscille. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.